Portugal. There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Carl and Captain Casa here with part 2 of where's the best place to live in Portugal. Not the city, not the region, but the geographical. Well, how would you go? Topographically, country, coast or city?
Well, first off, can I just explain while I was doing that? Right?
You're punching me in the arm like
No,
a bloody teenager.
I was.
Right.
This is the second part, obviously, that we're on here.
Yeah.
So it's time to keep the motivation up, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
I tried listening to it's just flagging, right?
Okay.
So we got to pump through the energy.
All
So that's why I was just getting ready, but the camera came on, and so if people think, what, that's what it was about.
You're a different man when
I'm
there's
a
lights and camera on.
I really am, because I'll go to sleep when this is finished.
Part 1, then we nailed it with City
You did.
Life.
Thank you for bringing me back to that.
You did anyway, didn't
Yeah.
you? You talked about the pros and cons of City Life, and we were halfway through the
Not
coast.
so much halfway.
Really?
This is
When we
trilogy.
when we realised this might be better in 2 parts rather than an epic series.
What he's trying to say is I'm a total windbag.
He was going on a bit. However, really useful information, excellent insight as we've come to expect from you, Captain Casa.
Thank you.
Right. So city life, coastal life, country life, which is going to be best for you? Bring us up to date on the coastal, on your coastal analysis, if you will.
Well, as we were saying last week, the coastal life, we both know about coastal life. We've lived, a fair amount of years. And when we're talking about a fair amount of years now, what we're talking about with you, sort of
Coastal life?
Yeah.
Probably half of my time here in Portugal
which
now.
is roughly what?
That's over 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
And so that's incredible. I've been
some
here.
experience of central, some experience of semi-city life, but mainly coastal. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking I've lived mostly on the coast.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. And
Yeah,
same for you, right? Until your recent move to central Portugal and more rurality.
Rurality.
Country life. Let's go with country life. It'll be easier.
Yeah, call it country life. Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, I've been here 18 years now, and a large part of those 18 years, I've lived on the coast, and loved every minute of it. I always promised myself I wanted to live by the sea, and this is a great thing about Portugal, is right, because you look at Italy and France and all sorts of destinations, and they were just priced right at the market.
Yeah.
But it was still, and still is, possible to lead a decent life, buy a house by the sea, and see the ocean every day. Now, isn't that incredible?
It is.
Yeah.
And
How
the
lucky
backstory
have
for
I
you,
been?
you came from the Midlands of the UK, didn't you? Like, you couldn't be more landlocked, really, in many ways, could you?
I came
Around
from
Brum.
That's right.
Yes.
I came from
Dream
Birmingham,
of the soy.
the inner cities of Birmingham.
And you used to call it the soy, right?
The what?
Which means the soy. I'd love to live near the soy one day.
The side.
Which means the sea. So
The
you've got to live that dream here.
I think it's a bit more of the sea. Just drop it down. Oh, yeah, I want to live by the sea.
Coast.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the coast.
And your dream was realised.
My dream was realised, yes. And so it's just a wonderful life. But let's get into it. Let's go through now, because we've done a comparison with cities, and we've probably found the teasing point about cities is they're not particularly tranquil. Yeah. Great hospital services, great culture, great infrastructure,
things to do,
transport, things to do. You're never going to be bored in a city, especially Porto, Lisbon, Coimbra.
Right.
These are the major, and such history.
And
really,
as we pointed out before, they remain safe places to be in terms of world rankings of cities, right?
Yeah.
Good city experience and fairly safe.
Are they towards the top of safest, I think?
Yeah, for sure. We have that here in Portugal.
If you come from places with a lot of gun crime, knife crime, a lot of tea leafing, which is stealing, you're not going to get that so much in Portugal, and you're not going to get it in cities like, you do get it, but it's much, much, much less severe. They're pretty welcoming to foreigners. So I think that's what we got from looking at cities in Portugal. But now we're looking at coastal life, and we both know what it's like to live on the coast, and pretty much we've had good
Love
experiences.
it. And like I said before, I'd be happy to spend the rest of my days here. However, imagined being in central Portugal and living a country life. So tell me what that's like, because you were going to talk about how you had that as a dream, possibly. You always liked the idea of it. What's the reality of it being?
Different, more tranquil,
Right.
a deeper experience, very still sometimes. For me, probably a little bit on the boring side, but that's me. Okay?
Too quiet.
Too quiet.
Yes.
You know, but I've enjoyed the utter beauty of the place, the lush, verdant landscapes, the mountains, the rivers, the greenery. You know, because Portugal doesn't really ever suffer, you know, from that kind of, when you go to central Spain and you go across the plains, and that sort of, it's like an anvil, isn't it, of heat.
Yes.
And it is like a desert, but it's all brown, and here we still get enough sort of rain to make it sort of verdant and green and lush, which I love. And the light's good. So there's plenty of activities like river beaches. They're fabulous places to visit.
Bit of a well-kept secret about Portugal, because it's all about the coast, generally speaking. The river beach culture is incredible.
A whole series on river beaches, I tell you, because it's a river beach culture. So you take your picnic along. There's restaurants there. There's all sorts of facilities, and they've got like pools where you can swim, and it's all natural. It's a bit tasty in temperature, mind. I mean, you don't expect it to be totally warm, but there are places in the shallows where it's like a bath.
Yeah,
you know.
beautiful.
But when it's got a bit of depth.
I was really pleasantly surprised, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
And when we ended up in central Portugal for a few months in our early days, popping along to the river beach, absolutely lovely part of Portuguese culture.
And also there's sports, there's walking, hiking, fishing, paragliding. You can go in certain parts of mountaineering if you feel that fit.
Yeah.
Loads and loads of things to do, and you know, the good food. You can have a great day out. So if you like got a bunch of kids, it's total entertainment for kids.
Yes.
Youngish kids. I think when they get a little bit older, probably towards sort of 18, 19, 20, like mine are now.
Yeah.
I'm calling them kids, but they're adults now. There's less for them to do, so they need to get mobile. They need to, you know, drive and visit their mates and do all of that.
But growing up, having a childhood in central Portugal, you would recommend?
I think it's superb.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because it's so interesting, and they get a life here. They don't have to be glued to the computer. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of activities. There's a lot of getting outside, because the summers accommodate that.
And the culture. It's a family culture, isn't it?
And the festas. Don't forget the festas. So all of that is brilliant, really. And such a kind of, wow, it's a romantic step back to life, how you thought it was perhaps in the 50s. Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't born in the 50s.
No, I have the 70s in mind, as when I think of rural life and the culture generally.
Yeah.
It is like jumping back to my childhood as I remember it in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to be maintained, but certainly it seems to be.
It's changing. You know,
true,
isn't it? So I mean, if you want to, I always remember talking to my dad, and he used to say, you know, back in the 50s, you could get on within your car and you could drive, and you wouldn't see another car, you know, for ages. And he said, well, that's all gone now.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't.
Not in Portugal.
Not in Portugal.
That's right.
Right. You can still drive for kilometers, miles, and not see another car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, I just love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you realize you should have worn your glasses. But anyway.
Yeah. You never really left your drive, did you?
You've got to turn it on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
However, country life. Now,
Yeah.
people fear the country because of a lack of medical care and poor transportation. Are they right to be doing so in Portugal?
It's patchy.
Right.
Okay. Now, you've got to understand that a lot of the Portuguese population moved from the centre to the coast. So leaving behind basically older people
Yeah.
curiously enough, who need more medical care.
Yes.
So there is a lack of like I know in my town in Alviazra there's not the provision of a decent family doctor. You can get seen
Yeah.
in an emergency sense or make appointments, but you don't really have that contact with a family
Is
doctor.
that right?
Yeah.
So it's not a small place either, is it?
What?
Al-Wazra.
I thought you meant Portugal. It's fairly. It's not tiny. No, it's not like a
50,000
tiny.
inhabitants, right? And so
Yeah.
but you get access to a medical centre, but not a family doctor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the moment, that may change.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to weigh this up when you're choosing. How fit are you? How healthy are you?
Yes.
Because if you
And what support have you got?
and what support, yeah. So when you're choosing a house or a home, it's not all about like how big is it and is it got stairs and all of that. What's around is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably
definitely.
more so.
Yes.
So be careful to do a little bit of research when you're looking at places to figure out what kind of medical care there is, what kind of investment infrastructure have they got, sports stadiums, gyms, what kind of like opportunities are you going to have for leisure and physical activity? Because physical activity is important.
But,
to keep active.
People aren't sometimes underestimate the importance of sociability as part of your health and well-being. That's
Yeah.
a consideration if
Yeah,
you're living
yeah.
in the country as well, right?
Yeah. Now, we're moving on then to probably the feeling of is it an isolating feeling being in a small village? Now, it can run two ways. It can be if you're not prepared to integrate a bit into the community because there's less English spoken.
Yeah, right.
So if your Portuguese skills or you're not prepared to extend yourself, because Portuguese people are quite helpful in this respect. They will, chip in and try to help you if you try and speak a little bit of Portuguese. And I think that's just fair and natural.
All right.
Okay. But there's less English spoken.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to banks or when you go to hospitals, don't always automatically expect that English is going to come back to you.
Yeah.
Not in the way that you would go to like a hospital down in the Algarve or Lisbon. It's not always. Frequently it is, but not always. So to have some Portuguese grounding to get yourself over those circumstances is a very good thing.
And your high school or O-level French may help too. In central and northern Portugal, a bit of French can help.
Bien sûr.
Yep. Vraiment.
Yeah. So those probably you would think are a little on the downside. They're not. There's ways of negotiating. But on the upside is the cost of living.
Yes.
And also the price of houses. Yeah, your money will go a lot further in the interior than it would on the coast or in a big city. Okay.
Paul Rees of Rural Properties makes a really good point about this. Some people have this crazy criteria with their choice of house to be within an hour of the airport. And he thinks that's crazy because if you're prepared to go 2 hours from the airport, you will get so much more value for those 2 or 3 trips you make to the airport every year.
A year.
Yes. With that silly criteria.
I mean, why not have a stop and have a break? And with your 1 hour trip, it's 2 hours. It might be 2.5 hours. But
your buying power over the hour threshold will give you enough money to pay for a taxi for a 2-hour chauffeur-driven ride to the airport.
Well, taxis are quite cheap,
right?
Yeah.
So it's not a sensible. I don't know if it's coming from another part of the world. Maybe it is in the States. People do want to be close to an airport, but you can rethink
normally, that. That's what on your checklist. That in any advice, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. When I tell people, well, don't forget to be, get to an airport.
Yes.
But if you look at it logically,
if you haven't been there for 5 years, or whatever, it's not going to be that valuable or useful to you.
Exactly. So you have to think these things through. But like you say, your purchasing power does go up appreciably.
Yeah.
So local goods are cheap. So international style living adds to cost. So what that means is if you want to live it up in anywhere, it's going to cost you. But if you want to live it up in the interior of Portugal, it's going to cost you a lot less.
Yes.
Okay. So how did you when you lived in the interior? What was your major reflections on that?
The need for a car.
Yes.
That was something that I'm sure you'd included in that, because we talked about how in the cities, how easy it is to get around on public transport in the biggest of cities here in Portugal. And we touched on how eventually people do succumb to buying a car often, who thought they would rely entirely on public transport. It is difficult to not have a car in rural Portugal. And we found that we really missed it. We did try. We lived in a small town with a railway station, and that was okay. But compared to the freedom you get from having your own vehicle, it was very, very different, especially if you've got kids as well.
Yeah.
So it is. I think it's doable. I mean, anything's doable, but it's quite an inconvenience to rely solely on public transport if you live in rural Portugal. So planning having access to a vehicle, owning one, or regular rentals. But even we used to rent a lot, but you still got to take that vehicle back every now and then when you don't want it, and then find your way back to your home. Yeah. So I think you're going to need a car in central.
I think
And rural.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even things like doing the shopping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a major plan fest, isn't it? If you haven't got a car,
and God forbid if you do need medical help or get poorly, you definitely need access to a vehicle or someone who will do that for you in the household or someone else. So think about that sort of support system as well.
Yeah, good point. So,
I loved it though. I mean, you were asking me what it was like to live in rural Portugal. It's so beautiful. The stillness, the tranquility of rural Portugal for people who are still looking for the good life, off grid, away from civilization and noise. You can find some deep peace in Portugal. No question about that, right? But you that's too boring for you.
No,
eventually.
No, I do like a bit of deep peace.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Going deep and reflective.
Yeah.
You would be amazed.
It can be deafeningly quiet, can't it?
Yeah.
Oddly, bizarrely quiet, and just thinking, whoa, this is unfamiliar.
Yeah. And
awesome.
There's great times for reflection because you're surrounded by utter beauty.
Yeah.
Any time of the day. And if you are into nature, you're never going to have a boring moment.
Yeah.
And also there's the local festas, and there are expat groups that you can meet up. You might have to travel a bit. You will find, like in any village, town, there will be foreigners, and a lot of them now are not only British, but Scandinavians, but also Americans.
Yeah.
A lot more having the courage to get out there in a kind of pioneering spirit and actually go into the central regions. So it is a very interesting and sort of thought-provoking process. And this nature thing, I think, is a really
I've got
vibrant.
a question for you.
Yeah.
Now, just talking about deep peace and tranquility and deafening silence and nature,
Yes,
which is definitely available in Portugal. I just missed it. Talking about it, I was thinking, I want to experience that in the way that you might say to yourself, I love the sea. I'm going to plan a trip to the seaside this weekend. How do you just go and find deep peace in the Portuguese countryside? Where would you recommend people go to?
Well, I mean, because
it's not like going to the seaside, is it?
No, it's not like going to the seaside.
It's obvious going to the seaside. You go to a seaside town, but how do you experience that peace in Portugal?
Well, you get the rivers. Anywhere near water is very refreshing and tranquil and stimulating in a very peaceful way. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it flushes you out emotionally. The mountains,
Goish, Arganil. What's that fantastic river beach near Tamar? That really incredible. Agrawal. Have you been there?
Agrawal, yeah. Also, there's a like a little piece of heaven came to earth and fell at Fragos dos Simão. Yeah,
awesome
which
place.
Is like a valley, a V-shaped valley cut through with a stream. There's a lot of granite walls, very high, quite spectacular.
Yeah,
it's a good old walk to get down there. You can drive down there, but there's bathing. There's a little cafe. There's walks. They're famous for doing these boarded walks. Yeah.
Yes.
And so the walking is not too problematic. And
You're
you
making
find,
me miss it. What a place
honestly,
that is.
and the bird life and the nature, and just to experience that on a lovely warm day is so refreshing, and it's spectacular. But it's, you can do that pretty much anywhere. It's like you go to the local areas and you'll pretty much find out any river is going to have river beaches. You just get on the internet and Praia Fluvial, that's what they're called.
There you go.
Praias Fluviais.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
river
And
beaches.
you've taken me back as well. This peacefulness of central Portugal. One of my first experiences over near Oliveira do Hospital, staying in a yurt. Absolutely loved it in the valley there.
I've never stayed in a yurt.
Have you not?
No.
I recommend it. The peacefulness, in the right time of year, but the peacefulness of the valley. Suddenly, a whistle in the distance, and then somebody going whoop, 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 and it's a goat. The goat herder traversing the valley.
Right.
You see goat herders, don't you, out in central Portugal?
Yeah.
Or people driving sheep or goats across the landscape,
and oxen.
It's
huge.
It's amazing, isn't it? And it's like it disturbs the peacefulness, but in a beautiful kind of rural way.
Yeah.
And then it settles down again, back to that buzzing peacefulness.
Well, I was envisioning then, as you were talking about the yurt, I was thinking, why not get a wigwam? Yeah. Sit there with your animal skins on and
start your own. Start a hill tribe, a hillside tribe. Yes,
I'm there, man.
Yeah, definitely.
White man.
Look in the comments for
wigwams,
for details of Terence's new cult that he's starting in central Portugal.
Cherokee Terry. So let's get back to the practicals then. The cost of living is great advantage. It's low. Yeah. Property and daily living are very affordable, ideal for sustainable or minimalist living. Right. So minimalist living. I mean, if you want a farm, you want to grow fruit, you want a wellness retreat, yoga clinic,
your own water.
Matty with his Matthias, he does all sorts of pain relief and manipulation. He's fully qualified.
Right.
Really, there's the space and sort of you can put enough into these ventures because it's not that expensive. So if you really got something buzzing around in your head that you want to do and that you've spent your whole life thinking, yeah, I want to do that, the interior may be the answer.
There's still scope there, isn't there?
There's still scope, which is quite interesting.
Yes.
But I think you have to be slightly more of a more of a risk taker.
It will. I was going to say, because we alluded to this, didn't we, in the first part of this conversation? You need to be robust and resilient to live that sort of life. You really do.
I think so.
It's like central Portugal, isn't it? Like
the
dog relay,
attack,
the dog barking.
There's a lot of dogs in central Portugal.
Cockerels and dogs, church bells. You've got to get used to that. But it will be a test of your own sanity and relationship living a quiet,
That's
peaceful
a great
life,
point,
isn't it?
Yeah, because if you're single, it's a test of loneliness and isolation and how you can integrate and what do you do. And also, if you're together, obviously, you're going to be dependent on one another for a lot more,
and
sort of
spending
social,
a lot of time together,
and spending a lot of time. Are you up to it?
And it's a serious question, isn't it? It's a serious question because if you've been working hard and you go off in different directions in your corporate life, and your plan is to retire together in the middle of nowhere, that is a massive contrast to your regular day to day, to be spending time together and only together for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
Sounds like I've had a very bad experience with that, doesn't it?
I'm saying nothing.
Right. I actually haven't, but I do recognize that you are forced to address the issues of your relationship when you find yourself together a long time. For me and Mrs. M, that's worked out because we've done it willingly. Well, I don't know about willingly, but we've done it because we've wanted to. But if you're not ready for that sort of test of your relationship, you might want to think twice.
That's a really interesting and good point. And I'm thinking now, my own personal experiences. Yeah, I've been lucky in a way because I haven't really had to focus in that direction. You know, stand in front of my wife and go, "Well, what do we do now? What do we do now?" Because we got what I call the kids. They're still with us, and we tend to sort of focus on them and you know, sorting their lives out and helping and supporting them. But when all that's over, and we, you know, we look at each other and we go, "Yeah,
oh, hello,
yeah." How do you
Right then.
What do you do? What are the stages that you go through?
Yeah,
Because I mean, dealing with me on a day-to-day basis
it
can't be easy,
No,
can it? No,
absolutely. No disrespect. but
no
I mean,
disrespect.
Poor woman. She'll probably want to get you out of the house, right? Get you out from under her feet, you know, send you off on errands, that sort of thing.
Oh, that happens already.
Down to Leroy Merlin. This is like, this is all occurring to you now. Why does she ask me to go to the shop so often?
Yeah.
Right.
Who noticed that women don't tend to go out more than men, do they? I mean, it happened to me on yesterday. It was like, I'll go out
Fancy
and
going to the shops.
yeah, I'd been out to dump some rubbish and do general this, that, and the other, and settled on the fact that I'm at home now and working. And then I've washed my hair and it's all wet, and I need you to go out and get a few things for me. And normally I'll go, yeah, all right. But I went, no.
Really?
Yes,
Boundaries.
I'm busy.
Boundaries.
Oh, I'm such a.
This is the sort of thing we're talking about. And if these sorts of tests are going to become problematic, be careful. Be careful. You might want distraction.
Yeah.
And it's not value judgment, is it? It's like understanding what sort of person you are and what the dynamics of your relationship are.
It makes you go through a kind of deep process of evaluation and thinking.
Yeah.
But then again,
which we try and avoid as much as possible, right? But, I mean, look at us. But there comes a time.
There comes a time in everybody's life
Yeah.
where deep thinking is required.
Yeah.
And that's a great point, really. Kind of halfway through that process, I don't know exactly what's going to happen when the wife and I look at one another and go, well, that's it. The kids have flown their nest.
Yeah.
And what do we do now?
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It may be the same for
this
you.
is part 3. This
is turned into an emotional.
This is writing itself. Part 3.
Can your marriage stand it?
Blokes considering the future of their relationships. Live, raw and vulnerable.
Raw and vulnerable.
Right. Concluding comments then for part 2 before we get into that part 3 of the
right. Okay.
Talking about our feelings.
All right, we're just going to talk a little bit about the infrastructure and then right. So the infrastructure is not as bad as you think, right? I mean, there are some cracking roads in Portugal. Yeah. Some good
and that's an English turn of phrase, which means they're good.
They're not cracking.
They're not in the sun.
They're just great.
Or because of the water.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of traffic on them.
Right.
And so you still get that sense of freedom, you know? I was going to say wind in your hair,
what's your A road near you, near Tamar, that you can be on for kilometers, miles, and never see?
Oh, not anymore. The A13.
Yeah. Is it a bit busy now?
No. It's changed because
because it's cheaper.
Toll free now. And everybody's on it, right? I came down on it today, and it was really reasonably busy for Portugal, which is like 5 cars every 1 kilometer, you know.
Yeah.
So if you want to drive for miles, Portugal's still a great place just to drive for miles without another car, without a care in the world.
This is something that Jerry, Expats Portugal, was saying the other day. Do you remember the days when we used to go out just for a drive? You weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You were just going for a drive.
London.
This is a great country to do that, isn't it? If you just like to go out for a drive,
you can say, get in the car, let's go for a drive. You go,
yeah. Where?
Yeah.
Who cares?
I mean, if you're in London, if you're in Birmingham, right, LA.
Stuck at the end of the street. Whose idea was this?
We'll go out for a drive for 3 hours. You're just there on the freeway.
Yes, this is
great.
Follow your nose, and you can have a fantastic time.
And you can explore, and life is
find
a bit
cafe,
more.
Yeah. Find a cafe in the middle of nowhere with just one toothless old guy sat out there. That's him, and he'll welcome you.
66 and 78 there, boy. I don't know why I said that. Right, so yes, final thoughts. Right, this is
okay.
Yeah, because you think we're going to stretch this out into a third episode.
No, the third one is, I think, might be a bit
more touchy-feely, emotional. The challenges we all face when moving to a new country and a wonderful environment like Portugal.
Yeah, the dark side, the shadow and dark side.
Will you please stop smelling that tennis ball? Okay, final thoughts. You might want to shape your answers, your conclusions around lifestyle fit. It's what lifestyle you're looking for, right?
This would be the topiary of topography then.
Oh, see what you came out with there, viewers. Topiary of
It's been
topography.
worth it. It's been worth it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Alliteration central. Brilliant. Okay, cities, ideal for professionals, families, and culture seekers.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Agree.
However, there is, you can still have a cracking time if you're single, and there's so much to see and do. You're never bored. Okay. All right, the cost's a little higher, etc., etc. But if you're looking for that kind of vibe, Portugal has some great cities, history, culture, just things to do and see, places to go. You never.
And cities in their ascendancy, like buzzing, trendy, hip cities to go to.
Yeah.
The talk of the world
Yeah,
as destinations.
Wow, rooftop
Lisbon,
cafes,
Porto,
jazz.
Lisbon. Yeah.
One of my son found a wonderful club in Porto where he had a couple of cigars because he does like the odd cigar every now and then. And I mean, just incredible.
So rooftop whiskey and cigar, little club like that. Fantastic.
Not that I
pack your polo neck, your turtleneck sweaters for that one.
Arr.
Very good.
Yeah. So coastal, great for retirees, creatives, and semi-nomads.
Yeah.
Now, I think we fall into that category.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, you're retiree, aren't you? And I'm semi-nomad.
I'm shy and retiring. I'm still working. And we can the nomad point is a good one because we can live somewhere if your work is on the internet and you can live on this coast.
Because
the best of both
the
worlds.
internet's fabulous here.
It is. Yeah.
Really, really good.
Talking to you on it now.
Yeah. So I think that's a fair sort of comment. Now, let's have a look at the countryside. Best for self-sufficient individuals or those seeking deep peace. I'd say that's fair.
Well said. Slam dunk. Case
Slam
closed.
dunk.
And that, Your Honour, is the country, coast and city analysis from Captain Casa there. And if you are still in any doubt, pop some questions into the comments and we'll get back to those. We'll come back to you on those. And maybe if it's really very difficult, why not do what the Portuguese do, which is to have a house in each of them?
There you go.
Isn't that the way to do it?
Well, they do, don't they? They come to the coast for the summer, a couple of months, hanging out on the coast.
Yeah.
And then, it's back to the town. That frequently people have also a house in the countryside.
Yeah.
And summers are spectacular here. So why not spend them in the country? Why not spend them on the coast? Then again, city life, it's incredible for those that love a bit of a vibe.
And if you have to choose one, don't forget it's not a massive country and there's a fantastic tourism, Airbnb, hotel, Posada network all around the country. So if you have to choose one place to be, you'll still have access to those other two styles of living on holiday and touring around Portugal, which makes it such a wonderful place to be.
Plenty to see and do. Yeah, I mean, you've been for food festas and I
love it. I love touring
the
around.
Beer festas.
Yeah, and just traveling in this country is great fun, not difficult, and you can get to experience a very different lifestyle and part and culture of Portugal. Still with that same Portuguese soul, but wherever you go around the country, and you'll have fun doing so.
The charm of Portugal.
Captain Casa, thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome.
We'll see you again soon.
Take care.
Bye for now.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun